I want to take you back a few months to the closing ceremonies of the Winter Olympics, to the Verona Arena, an ancient Roman amphitheater that looks a lot like the Colosseum in Rome. Whether you watched them or not, try to imagine yourself there that night. As the ceremonies begin, the lights are low. Then on a large screen, scenes appear from backstage. It looks like the opening night of an opera. You watch as performers and stage crew bustle about. But then the camera slowly pans downward through the floors of the stage, through decades of dust-covered and forgotten boxes and props. Down, 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 until the camera's gaze rests on a large crate labeled Rigoletto. And inside the crate, you see Rigoletto, the hunchbacked jester from the opera of the same name. He's come to life, awakened by all of the commotion above. And with a mischievous grin on his face, he escapes his crate and commences visiting the other crates labeled Aida and Madame Butterfly and Figaro. And Rigoletto opens the Figaro crate and sets Figaro free, who has also come to life. And before you know it, all of the crates are open, and these characters of days gone by emerge in colorful, extravagant costumes and begin performing in the opera that has begun on the main level in this strange fusion of the past and the present. But the revelry doesn't stop there. Throughout the closing celebration, these characters from the past wander in and out of other performances and even into the streets where the Olympic athletes are processing into the arena. To everyone's amazement and delight, the best of Italy's operatic past is flooding into the present. They're no longer just characters from years past. They are suddenly, shockingly alive in 2026. Not performing behind a velvet rope, but with artists of today, running into the crowd, dancing with athletes from every nation, turning the night into a riot of color and music. Well, Easter is that same sort of unboxing, but with a cosmic twist. Italy unboxed its history to celebrate the present. But on Easter, God unboxed the future to rescue the present. You know, on Good Friday, the world tried to crate up Jesus. They put him in a tomb, rolled a stone in front of the entrance, and walked away. They thought they had ended his story for good. Performance over. Problem solved. But on Sunday morning, the earth didn't just rattle. It shook. It quaked. The earth shook as an angel of the Lord descended and rolled the stone away from the tomb. An angel, Matthew tells us, that shone like lightning itself. The guards watching over the tomb were so shaken and paralyzed with fright that they fell to the ground like dead men. But the cosmic twist is this: Jesus was no unboxed character from the past, but from the future. And I say that because resurrection is God's promised future to all who trust in God's Son. The earth shook that morning because God was reaching into the end of time and unpacking what is to come. And you know, in the Bible, the earth only shakes when it can no longer hold what God is doing. The tomb wasn't just opened that morning. The old world was literally cracking under the weight of the new world that was breaking in. On Easter morning, God opened a crate from a day that hasn't happened yet. The last day. A day when there are no more tears and no more shame and no more cancer and no more war and no more death. Through Jesus, God turned that future loose into our present, into our lives in the here and now. Now, I know the idea of earthquakes and radiant angels and men paralyzed by fear sounds alarming, not like something good is happening at all. But these are all signs that the first Christians would have recognized as indicators that a new age is being born. When you read the book of Revelation, these are the kinds of signs that you see, what we sometimes call signs of the apocalypse. And it's just a shame that our culture has turned the word apocalypse into an easy way to create scary movie titles, because the word just means revelation. And the apocalypse, the revelation that these signs point to, is Jesus as the ruler of the world, the Son of God who has defeated sin and death and been given the power to make all things new. And that's good news. At the end of this age, Jesus will dry every tear, heal every disease, end all wars, and destroy death once and for all. In other words, what Matthew is trying to tell us is that when Jesus emerged from the tomb, he didn't emerge simply as a reanimated body. He emerged as the glorified Christ in a new and eternal body that can never die again. The kind of body that all who trust in him will have on the last day. He was raised from the dead as the man from our future, the first citizen of the new heavens and the new earth. In the resurrection, the future has broken into the present. But what does that really mean for us? Well, for one thing, it means that when the resurrected Jesus shows up in your life, you can expect the same kind of shaking that happened on Easter morning. That's just what happens when the new breaks into the old. It shakes things up. And I'll bet you've already experienced it, but maybe didn't realize that it was the Lord's doing. Think about how some of the most important changes in your life started out as a kind of frightening shaking. You got the job you always wanted after you became so fed up with the job that you had that you stepped out of your comfort zone and reinvented yourself, reinvented your career, and your life shook. It was an earthquake. It was scary. But now you can see how the resurrected Lord was leading you into God's future. You married after you got tired of the dating scene, of going through life alone. But marriage meant taking a risk and letting your life get turned upside down. For better or worse, nothing is ever the same after marriage. And marriage meant that you had to face your fears of betrayal, of being trapped, having your heart broken. And yet, you committed yourself to the life of another and said, I do. But it only happened after you started feeling your life shaking, after a holy dissatisfaction with the state of things. And now you can see how the resurrected Lord was leading you into God's future. And often the shaking is not something that we would ever choose for ourselves. The shaking comes through tragedy as well. Maybe you didn't leave your job. Maybe you were fired. Maybe you haven't found your new love, but are grieving a love that was lost. Maybe you're in the midst of great shaking even this morning. Hear the words of the angel. Do not be afraid. He's risen. He will lead you into God's future. Hear the words of Jesus himself. Don't be afraid. And as he says in the book of Revelation, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. He's here and he's there. He will lead you into God's future and never leave you, never forsake you. You see, everything that's frightening you this morning is just the rumbling and the quaking of the future breaking into the present. It's the pattern that God showed us in Jesus' death and resurrection. We all have to bear our crosses and face what seems like the end to find new life on Easter morning. And for those who trust in Jesus, we can know that the worst thing is never the last thing. God takes our brokenness and our fears, our indecision and our bad decisions, our tragedies and our heartaches, and he uses them to fashion us one day at a time into the version of ourselves that will one day be ready to inherit the new heavens and the new earth. And I'll just end on this note. When the women who met the angel at the tomb left and encountered Jesus himself, notice his instructions to them. They were to go and tell the others and meet him in Galilee. Galilee. Galilee wasn't a cathedral or a mountaintop or a magical land. Galilee was just a place where normal people, folks like you and me, live. It was a place of laundry and taxes and people just trying to get by. But by heading into Galilee, Jesus is signaling that the future hasn't arrived to take us away from this world, but to meet us in the middle of it. So as you leave this place today and step back into your Galilee, back to the jobs that shake you, health reports that frighten you, and the relationships that challenge you. Don't look for the living among the dead. Don't look for a Jesus who has been safely crated away in the past. I mean, don't look for a Jesus that you've already outgrown. The moral teacher that's always disappointed in you. Or the health and wealth guru that offers phony shortcuts. Look for the man from the future who is alive and willing to meet you in the messiness of your life, in the here and the now, present tense. The Jesus who loves you and gives you the power to love, present tense. The Jesus you can touch and see and be nourished by in the meal that we'll share around this holy table this morning. Present tense. Let the shaking of this world remind you that the shaking of Easter means that Jesus is bringing God's future into your present. That the stone has been rolled away. The one who makes all things new has been turned loose in this world and in your life. Easter means that the future is no longer a threat to be feared, but a pathway that Jesus leads you along into the future God has created for you. So go back to your life this morning, knowing that He's already there, walking ahead of you, preparing the way, making all things new. Happy Easter.